Hi, y'all. It is 6 in the morning where I am, and I was about to get up and get my day going because I've been wanting to be better about like time management and like getting my day started early. And I'm not gonna lie, the last few days have been better because I've been getting up, getting dressed. Even if like my morning routine gets a little bit delayed, I've still been like, okay, let me do my workout or let me do this, let me get this done and then get dressed and get my day going. And I like that structure for myself. I miss that for myself, but it's kind of hard living in a reality like the one that I'm living in. Um, but I just wanted to get on here and just because I started like ranting to myself and I was like, this is a live stream. And it's like it's not like a super intense like complaint, but it's just like a revelation of like what my existence is. And I know I probably said similar things before, but I don't know. I just feel like it's important to document my perspectives about things, especially when I feel like people don't get it. Um, and I know that there's people who do. I know there's people who do more now than it's ever been in the height of me experiencing the most like pushback in my life. And to know that even then there was people like wow, I wasn't expecting this moment. Even in the height of like me feeling like everyone in the world was against me, to know that everybody in the world didn't feel like that. There's people who were in my corner before I even knew that I had a corner for people to be into. Is uh reassuring that it's worth fighting through the hardest times. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to get on here and say. Um so I was on TikTok. I was on TikTok, the clock app. And I was looking at this video of this girl who randomly walked up to this lady and was like, "Oh my gosh, like I love your outfit. Can I take a picture of you?" Because she was a photographer. And the lady ended up being like a writer and artist, and she was featured in a newspaper. And so she's like, and she's with like her, I guess her kids or her son or something like that. And so she's like taking pictures with this lady, and they're just like outside talking, and the son has a camera, and so there's a moment where her and the son are taking pictures and she's taking pictures of the lady and she's like, "Oh, make sure you buy my book or whatever." And they're just having this really cool interaction. And and there's a moment where the lady is like, "Oh, like, do you believe in Jesus?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm a believer." And and they start talking about like faith or whatever briefly. But and it's just like this really organic interaction. And I was watching this moment and I was like, "Damn, like I miss when my life felt like that." Cuz I've had moments like that before where before my life was what it is now, where I would just be like walking around with my camera, or I'll see other people with their camera and I'll just like go up to them and have a conversation and be like, "Oh, are you an artist? Like, what do you do?" And there's many times where I've like connected with people that way and, had like a organic interaction, or at least so I believed it to be. I don't know. At this point, I have to question a lot of things. But but these interactions with people who are artists and creatives, and it's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And then like you exchange information, and then maybe like a friendship blossoms out of that, or a contact or whatever. And it's a organic way to network. And Angie just came up and she's keeping me company. And I was just like, wow, like I miss when my life felt like that, when I could just go up to people and have a random conversation. It's interesting because like I've kind of like seen this perspective about like, how some people have like their personalities or their persona online versus in person. And it's like, oh, this person's super funny online, but then when you meet them in person, they're not like that. But it's like when you're online, it's a controlled area. It's like where you can usually I would assume that most people post and create content on social media in environments where they feel safe enough to be themselves. And sometimes in public, that same safety and vulnerability is not allotted to them. You know, you might be in public in the fucking boonies with like savages, and it's like, okay, you might not feel safe to be yourself in those environments. So, no, you might not be funny out in public like that because your interaction is different, like, especially depending on like your background and what kind of neighborhood or environment you grew up in. It can't, you can't afford to be funny. You know, it's like, yeah, like you got to be on your P's and Q's and keep your head on a swivel. And, you know, and then there's even times like when I'm out and about and like, yeah, like life feels serious, but I'm just like, you know, I'm not going to be as serious. I'm still going to have a good time. I'm going to dance around and laugh and enjoy the shenanigans of my life because I refuse to like be brought down to such negativity. Um, but yeah, and it's like, anyway, so I was just like, I was thinking about that. And it's like, well, and there's times where I've tried to like, you know, connect with people or NPCs that be working, that be plugged into the matrix. But it's like, it's hard to like reason with those kind of people because it's like, you know, the whole interaction is inauthentic. And when you choose not to participate in the matrix, it's like trying to have a conversation with somebody that willfully chooses to be plugged in. And you want to have a real conversation, but you know they're going to say some plugged into the matrix type shit. And it's like, I can't have a conversation with you. What we gonna talk about? I want to talk about the real things that's going on in the world, and you gonna act like it's not. And it's like, how? What conversation can I expect to have out of this? So no, I'm not gonna be my like charismatic like personality, you know, making jokes self with people. And sometimes I do. Sometimes because I'm like, I laugh at the situation sometimes because I'm like, the fact that y'all really be going along with this, shopping at the grocery store, like, I gotta get the maple syrup. Like, are you like, and I'm like, at y'all big ages, like, y'all are the elders. Come on. Like, really? And it's just like, it be shit like that where I'm just like, y'all are a joke to me. Y'all are a joke to me. And I hate that for you. I hate that for you because at this point, I feel like you're imprisoning yourself, participating in these shenanigans. But I get it though. Like, I get the fear to be free. I understand. But anyway, that's beside the point. So I was watching this video and I was just like, wow, I miss when my life felt like that, when I could just like go up to somebody and just have an organic conversation and like network with them. And it, before like my life was what it was, like when I was really like maybe like not even 5 years ago, maybe before then, like in my early 20s, and like teen years, when like maybe when I was like when I was working like my first few jobs or like when I was in college or like even after then, like just being able to like, you know, see somebody doing something creative and just like, hey, you know, what are you into? Like I'm an artist and I'm from this area, this and that, and I think it's cool, like what's your social media type of thing. And it just be that, you know. I'm not covering the mic. I think I don't know if I was or not. But but yeah, so and then I was just thinking like, you know, it never phases me that my life is what it is, you know? I like it's interesting for somebody that's like not like technically employed, like technically self-employed, I guess. Even though it's kind of hard like creating work for myself. But, you know, and like I mean, there's a lot of cool things that happen in my life, like just all these interesting like skills and hobbies that I've been able to like I don't even want to call them hobbies because they're literally survival tactics that I've acquired over the years, and I'm really proud of it. Um, but I don't know. It's just like it still never like phases me that my existence is what it is. Just because it's like I was just thinking about like back in the day when I was like actually like around my family more and just like how my childhood was from my perspective. And I was just thinking about like not even just like not just my family, but just in general. Like, like I mean, I'm not like the perfect person, but I think back to my life and then I think back to how I feel the outside world perceives my life. And I just feel like it doesn't add up to me. It to this day, it still doesn't add up to me. And you would think for people who like, be watching your every move, you would think, I'm like, okay, so if you watch my every move, what about this experience did you get that you're not getting when I explain what you know what I mean? Because I just be thinking about like all the friendships that I've had and just like the positive interactions. And it was way more positive than negative. And just like the good times and the times where I've shared laughs with people and just interacted with people organically. And, and just like the network that I built for myself and just like all the bridges that have crumbled today. And a lot of it be based off of like fabricated drama and you know I think the two things that really like make me feel away is like people that I've like either like supported and been there for and came to their defense turning on me, and people feeling a way about situations that were intentionally baited and created and still getting like the um like disdain for that. Like, and my thing is like, okay, you don't even have to like, even if you don't like me, you don't like my personality or you don't fuck with me or whatever, that's cool. That's fine. Like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea and I don't care to be. But it's like to like go out of your way to like manipulate and like press the buttons and activate the this. And it's like, why? Why do you do this? And give me a legitimate reason. Give me a reason that's not connected to something that could have been referenced before it happened, or give me a reason that doesn't prove that you're an asshole because I've either like supported or like defended you previously. Cause that's how it be feeling to me. Cause I'm like, all right, like it's one thing if like I like hurt somebody in a way that wasn't baited and created into happening. Then it's like, all right, if I did or said something that like really hurt and offended you, and I apologize for it, and I'm sorry. I'm just getting a wire from under your paw, honey. Sorry, I have my fur baby with me. Um, and I'm just like, give me reasons that don't align. That's not one of the two. Either I have like supported people and defended folks, and then whatever they might have heard something about me or whatever, and then was like, "Oh, we don't fuck with Narice no more." And it's like, "All right, fine, whatever." Or like you can say like, "Oh, this happened with Narice, or she did this and this and that," and then I can literally pinpoint how those circumstances were fabricated, and an array, a plethora of examples. Like, "Oh, you're upset about this? Well, what about this that happened before then?" You know, and that's the thing that gets me. That's the thing that bothers me. And I really be trying my best to like do the right things, and I don't always get it right. I try my best to be like a decent person and to really like consider others. And like honestly, I feel like that's my like not a flaw, but something that I need to do in moderation because I feel like in these last few months, I've been in situations where I've tried to like help, assist, and save other people, and I needed to be saved myself. Like, you know, and still get treated like I'm not the type of person that would really put people first and like try to help and save and heal, you know? And I feel like we're in a day and age where people are too scared to be like, you know what? We know this is bullshit, so we're not going to go along with it. Like I feel like people are too scared to be on that front and just like we know it's bullshit, but we're kind of too scared to make a stand, so we're gonna like do these little attacks here and there, but we'll like low key try to like help too because we know it's bullshit. And I mean, like I guess like I feel like I understand that in the tough situation, but I'm like, who got y'all so scared? Like, who is it? What is it? What is the institution? Who are the people that got people so shook where it's like, we got to do this shit in immense code? Because to me, it's giving like Stockholm syndrome. And I don't ever want to get complacent with that. Like, I get it if it's like, all right, this is a hidden coded type of thing, but I feel like it's just an odd way of like, okay, this could be a way to accept abuse. We'll put in a little bit of help, we'll put in something of value to hook you, but then we'll also like fuck with you at the same time and get away with it. And two things could be true at the same time. Like there could be people with those ulterior motives of being like, oh, this is my sneak dissing way of like acting like I'm helping when I'm really dissing you. And then there's people who are genuinely like trying to help and who genuinely understand like it's bullshit. So we gotta like mix in the lesser evil, but really be trying to like help low key. And I don't know. It's a mind fuck of a situation. Um, but I don't know. It's whatever. Anyway, the main thing that I was like, I mean, I pretty much said the points that I wanted to say on here, but I was just like really thinking about like, and now that I'm live streaming, it's kind of hard for me to like say it forthrightly. I don't know if that's a word, but it's hard for me to like say it transparently. But it's just like, for example, like say if I guess like if somebody's a celebrity and you have your experience with your family and your upbringing, and then when you're a celebrity, everybody has their perspectives and their opinions about your life and your family and your relatives and incidences that's happened in your family. And it's like, okay, y'all are talking about, I can understand like celebrities frustrations with people like having 2 cents about their lives when their experience is something different. Like something that I said that I felt like was a bar was like, you know, that's like, say you live in this reality where like everybody else, everybody's perspective of you is based on like these few incidences that's happened in your life, but you've had so many interactions in between that where life felt normal and shit was cool and it was chill and you had positive interactions with people and and it's like, okay, like if you were in an environment where people hated you, it didn't feel like it because, and even if like maybe the disses were subtle or whatever, it's like telling somebody to read the room, but the book that they're presenting isn't the book that they're living. So it's like, all right, read the room. You giving me a you know like a family novel But apparently the book that you're feeling is like a Stephen King novel. And it's like, that's not what you handed me. Like reading the room, I guess we're reading different books because, you know, if the book that you're experiencing is like Stephen King, it didn't feel or look that way to me, you know? And especially like when there's moments where, like I said, like where I've like, and I've said this many times, and I know it's not, you know, where I've like come to people's defense and I've like, advocated for folks. Cause I'm like, why, like, if it was like that, why the fuck would I do that? You know what I mean? Like, and I say that from experience. Like, for example, like with a cousin of mine who I knew was like, like different and, weird in his own way. Like, aren't we all? And very much into like video games and like just quirky things and like, anime and Asian culture. But like, so are my other cousins. Like, they're into like anime too, but like, his thing is a little different. And, there would just be moments where we would all hang out as a family. Now, I know they spent more time together than I did just because, like, I lived at least like an hour away at the time. But when I was over there, like, not even just for holidays, but just like in the summer or, during the weekends, like, even during like, in between the school years, and he would like have his input in the conversation, and it just always felt like they were just like, "Okay, whatever." Like, "Here you go," like, saying ridiculous things like, "Oh, shut up," type of thing. And that it wasn't always like that, but, like, how kids are, like, kids pick on each other. And mind you, my cousins are jokesters. They all crack jokes all the time. They crack jokes on each other, they play fight, like, that's what they did. And I was the smallest one, so, like, every now and then I would play fight with them, but I'm just like, "If y'all don't leave me alone," type of thing, and that's just how they would play. And the thing was that I never, like, jive well with me because, I always felt like my one cousin was being singled out, and, and there would be times where he would share stuff, and even if I wasn't interested or, like, I didn't share the interest in the thing that he's talking about, I would sit and listen just because, like, I didn't want him to feel left out. And, and I didn't like how, sometimes it just felt like my cousins would like pick on him and, and like act like they were tolerating him. Now, has it been like that in a while? I don't know because I don't really spend time with them like that. And, in the times where I had spent time with them in like the last few years, like, that was probably like a phase that they grew out of or whatever. But that's how I remember my childhood. And I remember not liking that feeling for him and, and just and I, talked to I remember getting into a whole argument with my cousin about it. And, and not that I like, and it's not a jab to her or whatever, but it's just as this is just me talking about the situation and how it happened. And I just remember saying that, and I was like, no, I'm not there a lot, and I don't spend as much time with y'all as y'all have spent together. But the times that I have been there, I just felt like y'all be leaving him out, and and treating him like y'all don't care about the things that he's interested in and what he have to say, and I didn't like that, and I said something about it. And, and just like fast forward to like my life now where I don't really interact with my family like that at all. And just feeling like, I don't know. I just feel like my perspective about my lived experience versus like everybody else's opinion about it feels crazy. Cause it's like, who the fuck is y'all to even like, how do I say this? Whatever. Either way, I just be feeling like just how life feels right now is just crazy to me. 'Cause I feel like there's many times where I tried to do the right thing and say the right thing and show up for people, and it frustrates me when that's not acknowledged as much as times where things might not have always been good. And then the frustrating thing is like, okay, even if we want to acknowledge the things that aren't good, like it's frustrating when I feel like the full story isn't being told. And then when you try to tell your story, it feels like you're attacking people. And it's like, I'm not telling my story to attack people. I'm just telling my story to tell my story because I think it's only fair that I share my perspective and my opinion. And it's wild when you're in a space where, like, say, like, you got like a family secret or whatever. This is hypothetical. This is all hypothetical. Say you got like a family secret, and so the whole family feels away, but you're led to believe that shit is cool. So when you're thinking about like all the times where like shit was cool and you thought you were standing up for people or supporting people or showing up for folks, but really they feel a different way about you. And to you it's like, oh damn, I didn't know that. I'm like, oh, this is really how y'all feel. Okay. Wow. If anything, it's a shock to me because it's like, if I would be more understanding if there was like a feeling of indifference. Like, okay, because like not even within the last few years when I was like deliberately distant from my family, but like in the years where I did see them and I would hang out with them like from time to time, I would understand if people felt indifference because I didn't hang out with them like that. You know what I mean? Like, because like I said, I grew up like an hour away from them and they all lived by each other. So they spent more time with each other. So when I come around, yeah, it's like, all right, Reese's here. And then like, there's good moments and we laugh and joke and watch movies and stuff like that. And it's chill. But there would be times where I would be like reserved with my family just because I felt more connected with my friends than I did with my family. So like, yeah, I would like be like goofy and joke around with my family, but I would be more comfortable being myself around my friends. So like I would understand more if there was like nothing said about me, because it's like, okay, Nerisse is like to herself or like pretty chill. But like just the level of like, I don't know, what's perceived to me is like I don't know, I just feel like my life feels crazy. My life feels crazy. And the best way to describe it, and not even just talking about family, I'm just talking about people in general, like just in life. Like again, where it's like, oh, read the room. Everybody's looking at you like you're in a Stephen King novel. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? I'm reading like a Sarah Dessen book. Like, what are we talking about? Bitch, I'm in a Sarah Dessen book and y'all talking about Stephen King. And then when y'all want me to react as if the room is like a Stephen King vibe, and I'm like, bruh, I crack jokes because bitch, I grew up looking at life like a Sarah Dessen novel. So yeah, I'm sorry that over there where y'all looking at the Stephen King pages and shit looking crazy, and it's like, oh, it's serious over here. Why are you cracking these jokes? This is a serious matter. I'm like, yeah, because the book I'm reading, when you tell me to read the room, isn't that serious. Like, if anything, like I said, like motherfuckers would be cracking jokes and making fun of each other. And, I'm like, y'all were harsher to each other than I have ever been to anybody. And so like I'm like, yeah, I low key can understand like why y'all like acting as if life is a Stephen King book because that's how y'all would joke and like treat each other. And I would just be like, I don't want to participate in that. I'm like, I'm going to go over here and read my like, like my teen, um, like young adult, just like regular trials and tribulations coming of age story that's happening in my life because that's what my life felt like. Like, and so like, and I had said that in one of these last few live streams, but I'm just like, I really hope people understand that. Like, yeah, my reactions to certain things might not seem serious because life didn't seem serious to me during at the time. The only thing in my childhood that felt really serious was like when my mom wasn't in the picture. So like the last few years before like I was separated or my mom was separated from the house, those were the only times where life felt like any bit of like trauma or traumatic, like something serious is happening. And, I mean, and again, like there were certain moments, but like how people are, how people, like I said, it just, okay. Anyway, I just, yeah, when my mom, when the stuff was going down with my mom and my dad and they would get into fights and, and my mom was like doing odd stuff and, you know, all of that, that's when life felt traumatic for me, like, in a serious way, where I was like and I was a kid, I was, like, 3, 4, or 5 around that time when a lot of that stuff was happening, and, times where, I remember this one time when my parents got into a fight, and I went they told me to, like, go in my brother's room, which is this room here, and then, like, it was one time we were walking in the hallway, and my parents were, like, fighting on the stairs, and then my brother brought me back to my room and like just kept me there and as they were like fighting and then like the police showed up or whatever and I remember that was like a serious thing. So like I don't know, I feel like that was like one of the more like serious situations that happened in my life where it was like okay, we're all reading the same book when we're reading the room, you know. But other instances I just felt like were like innocent mistakes in life, and um, I don't know. It's kind of like I think to my life, and I just think to certain moments of my childhood, and it's like again being upset about like, for example, like this time when I was in school. I've shared this story several times, but where I mean, in that instance, I got in trouble with a group of people, but I feel like there's a lot of times where I'd be getting in trouble and I'll be the one trying to be the peacemaker, and everybody else is like wrecking havoc and having beef with people or we're all doing the same thing and there's one person that's being like singled out and everybody else isn't getting in trouble like the one person is getting in trouble, which is like I'm like, bro, we always doing this shit. So like if I'm getting in trouble, we all need to be getting in trouble. Like the fuck is happening, you know? And that's how I be feeling about a lot of the situations in my life. And I'll just be like, okay, like, and then at the same time, when you really get into like the root of the problem, you realize a lot of this shit don't even be our fault because, you know, our upbringings. And there's some of us who have like, you know, guardians and parents who intentionally like raise us up to do these things. And that's how I be feeling about the situation. But I was getting into a story that I was talking about in my youth, like this time where we like vandalized the bathroom or whatever. And everybody was arguing and beefing with each other. And I was trying to put a message out for like everybody to get along. And somehow, some way I still got in trouble and I got spanked. And I was supposed to go to the circus that was happening. It was like a Girl Scouts trip. I was supposed to go and I couldn't go because I got in trouble for vandalizing the bathroom, even though I was trying to put a message of peace, but whatever, you know. Um, and I feel like that's the synopsis of my life. Like, all right, if I'm doing something and everybody else is doing something, I'll either be the only one being singled out, nobody else is being held accountable or like considered or talked about in any way, or I'll be trying to show up for people. I'll be trying to be the peacemaker. I'll be trying to defend and stand up for people and support people if they got something going on. and somehow, some way, I turn into the bad guy. And, I just like that narrative is getting very tired in my life. Like I'm very tired of that. Like I know there's people who have jobs to time things and intentionally like push certain narratives um at certain time stamps, you know? And it's like you think 777 is numbers for luck, and then, somehow, some way there's a deliberate like tactic to make it not. But I'm like, okay, do y'all even believe the work that y'all do at this point? Because like I feel like there's too much out there that's like shown that a lot of the things that we be upset at each other for was intentionally planned to be that way systematically to put us against each other, like our family structures and society and in friend groups. Like there's people who benefit off us being at odds with one another. And again, that's why it be people's jobs to time things and to instigate situations that they could have very well prevented, you know, and didn't. And I want to make this reference, but I don't know enough information about the situation to reference it. But I'll briefly say, like, I was watching this video on Anonymous and how, like, there was this case where there was an informant that was working with, I think, the FBI that, like, brought down some people that was working or hacking this organization or whatever. And it's like, there was a situation where the FBI, like, had intel about a particular hack that was happening and they didn't do anything about it. And it's like, okay, well, if y'all had the informant and y'all knew what was going on, why ain't y'all stop it? But they needed the case. They needed to blame somebody, to like build the case. So they like let this particular situation happen and ultimately use that to be like, see, look at Anonymous, you know? But it's like, okay, but y'all had the resources to prevent it. Like y'all knew it was going to happen before it happened. So why y'all let it happen? Unless y'all wanted it to happen. So it could benefit you. And I feel like there's too many things that prove that. There's too many facts at this point. It's too many receipts, there's too many facts, there's too many like, you know, visuals and examples in history where situations like that happen in society just to watch a family system be in despair. But there's like so many systematic things that took place that could have prevented, that knew like issues would happen and did nothing because they benefit off that issue. It's like thriving off of dysfunctional families and then blaming the scapegoat of the family. But it's like y'all ain't do nothing to save the family. And y'all could have. There's too many things, there's too many details, there's too many like, you know, like so many scenarios. Like and even in my own life, like at this point, I'm like, look, if you got a problem with me, name a problem and I could point you a scandal episode that can be the solution. Okay? Like, what is really the problem at this point? Like the two major problems, it's already been like, proven in my life that, you know, there's things in society that could have prevented problems in my life. You know, and it's like, all right, you got an issue? Bitch, go watch Harry Potter and get out my face. Like, that's how I feel at this point. Go watch Harry Potter, get out my face. Go watch Minority Report and get out my face. Go watch Scandal and get out my face. Like, get out my face. That's how I feel about any and everybody, like, in life. Like, bitch, if you got a problem, just go watch Scandal and get the fuck out my face. Because the you know, shows be having answers. It's like, "Oh, you got a problem with, like, mass incarceration?" I'm sure there's a Scandal episode that has a solution, a spin story that you can put in the PR and, be the solution. It's like, if you're into sex scenes and you're, like, into porn, bitch, watch Scandal. Watch Scandal, because 'cause it's got some steamy scenes in there, some steamy references. So, you know, what are you upset about? Go jack off. Like, you got issues with friendships? Bitch, go watch Scandal. They got issues with friendships, okay? It's and I don't think your issues in friendships have anything to do with, like, stealing elections and obstructing the government. So I don't think your situation is all that bad. Like, you have issues with, like, family structures? Bitch, just go watch Scandal. Because I don't think anybody got a fucked up family like Olivia got a fucked up family. Where both her parents, both of them, made her like that. Like, if there was anybody that was built for the work that Olivia does, a lot of times that Olivia be getting chewed up for, look at her parents. You got one that's the head of a secret society, you got one that's, basically in prison, but they both are crazy. And they both made her like that. And it's funny because Olivia, she be trying to do the right thing. The whole white hat thing. She be trying. And it's funny, I was watching this one episode with Melly Grant. And it's crazy when she was going through her depression and was walking around the Oval Office, the house, in her sweats and everything, and they was calling her Smelly Grant, which is crazy. Um, but it was when Melly Grant was running for president, and there's this organization that's trying to get Melly to get in the White House, but they're trying to rig the election, and Olivia wants to win an honest way. And Melly's like, girl, get off your high horse, like, as if you ain't kill nobody, as if you ain't steal an oval or two. And I'm like, Melly, you read her. Y'all are reading the same book. But Olivia be trying, but it's like, girl, look at the environment and look at the, like, everybody has fucked everybody over at some point, you know, in that show. It's like nobody's innocent. Like, nobody, as much as y'all be wanting to, like, be like, oh, command is so awful. And you know, like, oh my gosh, we rigged the election. Fitz is terrible for shooting down this plane. You know, it's like all of y'all have done grimy shit. Everybody. Like, nobody over there is innocent. Her parents are crazy. The whole circle, like that whole government. I mean, I feel like, how can you run a government in a way where it's like just and fair and you're playing fair? Like, how? How does that even work? Like, there has to be a part of you that's willing to, like, I don't know, throw the towel on high morals. There's people who make it look good, but everybody got blood on their hands. Republicans and Democrats and everybody in between. Like, I feel like there's no clean towel way to play the game, you know? And, the whole, like, morality thing of people like, oh, who determines who's a good person or not? I feel like it's just a matter of who makes it look good. But even that is crumbling. Like, we are seeing people in positions of power who, looks are immaculate, you know, and create this like united front, like all is well and everything is good, and these success stories. But we're seeing like between the cracks of like what people have to do to get there. I've said several times, like, even some of people that I used to look up to, because it's like at this point I only look up to God, and these people not that. But um and they'll make you think that they are, which is crazy. But like, it's certain people that will create careers for themselves and make it seem like it's just like hard work that's got them there. And that's probably true. Like, I'm not going to negate that. Like, there's some people who are very talented and probably did work really hard to get where they are. But we know talented people that work really hard that aren't in positions of power. We know people who are talented that work very hard, that from around the way, that probably got more talent than people that's in the industry, and they're hardworking and they got talent. But it's some other sinister shit that be going on behind the scenes, and we just don't hear about it. Well, now we do, and some of y'all been know. Some of y'all been knew this shit, and I feel like we're in a day and age where like people are trying to like, as much as y'all be on y'all high horses and be wanting to attack people for what you think is like, oh, you made this joke, so you're an awful person, or you've had these experiences, so you're a terrible person, even though you be trying to do everything that you can to like help people. But whatever, as much as y'all be trying to be on like y'all moral high grounds, like, we're in a day and age where the people that y'all look up to is trying to like spoon feed y'all into being okay with sinister shit. Like I said, when has the devil ever cared about victims and children? Some of y'all be on here like, oh, we're upset and we're fighting and we'll attack you for the kids. But y'all fighting for the devil. So what are we talking about? Y'all be using the devil's tactics for justice. Big on the justice. Those are supposed to be horns, by the way. When has the devil cared? The devil thrives off of chaos and destruction. And while you think you're fighting for justice, you're causing more chaos and destruction. And y'all be fighting people that actually care to do the work. It makes me think of Bob Marley's song. It's like redemption song. Like, the lyrics in that song is so like potent. How long shall they kill our prophets before we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. Got to fulfill the book. No, like, how long? And I'm not saying I'm a prophet or nothing, but I'm saying like there's people who genuinely care to do good work. And it's like y'all be caught up on the wrong things. Y'all be caught up on situations, but y'all don't be looking at the big picture. Like, why are y'all not caught up over the people who have the power to make the shit happen and prevent these things and don't do nothing? Why don't y'all be upset at them people? Why don't y'all walk around and cosplay as those people? Why don't y'all time it and make sure you walk outside at a particular time to throw jabs at those people? Why don't y'all formulate your coded content to talk about those people? I mean, some do, and and the thing is, like, okay, and what are y'all gonna do about it? What are you really gonna do about it? Are y'all gonna do something about it aside from just talking about it? Like, are y'all actively trying to fight these people? Are you actively trying to take down these structures, or are y'all just talking about it for content and pressing buttons because you can? It's like, oh, we know these buttons and you don't know these buttons. Bitch, have you thought about who created these buttons and why they work like that? Like, do you understand like, have y'all not thought about the practice that it takes to either know to press those buttons? Like, do you not think that, okay, somebody somehow had to be experimented on for people to either know those psychological games and basically made it culturally okay for y'all to do that shit? So y'all to think, oh, this person deserves to be psychologically and spiritually toyed with. But do you understand that somebody had to practice that shit to even know that that's even a tactic to use? I said that in another live stream of mine recently. It's like, okay, how many other people have y'all psychologically manipulated to even know that these tactics work? When you do this and you make this gesture and you do this in somebody's and they're looking at you and it could trigger something in their subconscious mind, this is magically going to happen. How do you know that? How do you know that that's going to work? And who figured that out? And who did you experiment on to figure that out? And how many times did you try before you realized you got it right? That that the psychological buttons were going to work. Y'all not asking the important questions. Y'all keep looking at the checks, the checker game, and not paying attention or asking questions about the chess. Y'all like, ooh, we could jump over here and king me. Ooh, let's king me. King me over here, king me over there. Okay, but y'all not asking who created the game? Why does it work like that? Why are these the buttons to press? Meanwhile, you think you're playing, but you're being played by people who understand the game better than y'all. And just because y'all have access to the information earlier, it's a shame that y'all don't realize y'all getting played and nobody's asking the important questions. Who created the game? Who created the buttons? Who created the psychological manipulation and the psychological warfare? Who? Where does this start? Where does this stem from? How do you know to use those tactics to manipulate and justify manipulating people? Start asking those questions. Make content referencing that. It's not enough of y'all that's really trying to get to the source. That's the thing. And I get it. A lot of y'all caught up in the matrix, and it's like, oh, you realize you're in the matrix and you can manipulate the matrix, but it's like, who plugged y'all in? Who created the matrix? Why was it created? And what's really the agenda? Aside from trying to get society to be complacent with being abusive and manipulative, and being okay with spiritual warfare, getting conditioned into being cool with planes falling out the sky, not manifesting, just speaking on it, and not doing anything about it. Like, y'all need to start talking about the source. Like, who's responsible? Who's creating these structures? Talk about that on my For You page, on my timeline, on my scrolls. I want to see content on that. But anyway, I didn't want to be on here more than an hour just because it's early. I'm up early and I do want to get my day started early. So I know my little fur babes is sleeping. She's adorable. Um, show you guys her. The little baby. My phone is on here and she be laying on the phone. I'm like, it looked like she plugged into the matrix, but I'm trying to unplug her. Isn't she a cutie? Yeah, but that's what I had to say. Yeah. Anyway, I shared my thoughts and my perspectives, and yeah, that's all I got to say. Much love to y'all. I'll say a quick prayer. I'm just going to Psalm 23 it because I'll keep it short and sweet. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me on the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Although I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff comfort me. God prepares a table for me in the presence of my enemies and anoints my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So it is, so it will be. Gratitude for what's been. Amen. I mean, Ashe. All right, y'all. With that said, I'm concluding this live stream. Thanks for the people who participated and watched. I hope. I don't know. In expressing myself, people understand where I've come from. And but you know what? Let me end on a positive note. I do want to say thank you to any and everybody that be helping. Sometimes it's like I don't want to like take that for granted because I'm so used to a world where like we all like attack and shame each other. And I get that some people have to do it in like coded ways and have to play the game and play both sides, just to stay afloat. But really in their heart they mean well and they don't like to see what's happening. And and maybe have spent like a lot of time advocating in hidden ways that maybe aren't being like realized until today. And I do recognize that. And you know, sometimes the negativity overshadows that. And there's a lot of negativity going on right now, especially with politics and communities and all these things. But I do want to take a moment to like acknowledge the positive. I do see those things. And I am grateful for that. I'm grateful. And and I get people gotta protect themselves how they have to. And like I said, I know it's a balance between like there's my alarm. Um, I know there's a balance between like, you know, people who are maliciously acting as if they're being helpful and really just like sneak dissing and attacking. And I get that there's some people who gotta like play a certain way just to like get in the door to try to make change. And I recognize those things and I get it. This chess game is woo a lot. It's a lot. But I do want to say thank you to the people who have taken the time and energy to strategically help, whether I see it or not. I'm grateful, and I send love and healing to us all. Really, All right. That's the live stream. Rawr.